This dish comes courtesy of Demetra's Dishes. Thank you, Demetra. Hi everyone, welcome. Well, today I was going to make pork chops, but as you can see from the beginning of the video, my pork chops are frozen. I forgot to take them out of the freezer. So instead, I'm going to make moussaka. Moussaka is a casserole dish consisting mainly of eggplant, a meat sauce, and a bechamel sauce. There's a variety of ways to make moussaka depending on which part of the world you're from. I'm going to prepare my moussaka with eggplant, potatoes, meat sauce, and a bechamel sauce. And I'm going to use some spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. This is something that I was planning to make later during the week, but since my pork chops are frozen, I'm going to go ahead and make it today. I'm starting by slicing the eggplant, and then I will peel and slice a potato. I'm sizing my eggplant slices to the size of the casserole dish. I'm making a very, very small casserole, and so I want to make sure the eggplant slices will fit the dish. And they don't. Well, not in the way that I want them to, because I want to be able to overlap the eggplant slices. So what I'm going to do is cut the eggplant rounds in half. I'm placing the sliced eggplant on a baking rack, and I'm going to sprinkle them with salt so that they can release some of their liquids. I'm going to allow the eggplant to rest on the rack for 30 to 45 minutes while I peel and slice a potato. I'm going to rinse the sliced potato under cold water to get rid of some of the starch. Next, I'm going to dry the potato slices really well, sprinkle with olive oil, salt, and pepper. After placing the potato onto a sheet pan that's been lined with parchment paper, I'm going to add salt and pepper to the other side of the potato. I'm also going to dust the potato with a combination of dried herbs and then place the potatoes in the oven and allow to bake until tender. I don't know if you can see it, but the eggplant slices are beginning to weep and release their liquids. But I'm going to let them stay on the rack a little while longer while I chop up some garlic and onion. For the garlic, I like to slice the cloves in half just to make sure they're not sprouting. If there are any green parts in the middle, I just remove them. I've added some olive oil to a pan and I'm going to saute the garlic and onion until soft. After sauteing the garlic and onion, I'm going to add the ground beef. I'm only going to use about half a pound, and I'll save the other half for something else. This is a very lean ground beef, 93.7, and it doesn't even need draining after browning. After browning the ground beef, I'm going to add salt and pepper and a little bit of cinnamon. Next, I'm adding some canned stewed tomatoes, but I don't think this is going to be enough. These are some leftover tomatoes from a couple nights ago, so I may have to open up another can. I'm also going to add a little bit of tomato paste. I'm adding a little water to the ground beef just to loosen it up a little bit. I did end up opening another can of stewed tomatoes, but I broke them down a little bit with an immersion blender. The extra tomatoes made a difference. This is the exact consistency that I'm looking for. I gave the ground beef mixture a little taste and it needed more salt. The eggplant has been sitting long enough, so I'm going to give the eggplant a gentle rinse, and then I'm going to dry the eggplant slices really well. After drying the eggplant, I'm going to shallow fry the eggplant in a light coating of olive oil. I'm adding a little bit more olive oil to the pan and frying a second batch of eggplant. The next time that I make this, I think I'm going to bake my eggplant slices in the oven because eggplant absorbs a lot of oil when frying it this way. I'm using two different cheeses in this moussaka. I'm adding grated Parmesan cheese between the layers, and I'm adding Gruyere to the bechamel sauce. And I like to grate my own cheese. I'm not a fan of the bagged shredded cheese. To make the bechamel sauce, I'm starting by making a roux with butter and flour. When I was very young, maybe around 7 or 8 years old, I remember my grandmother teaching me how to make a bechamel sauce, and she made it seem so easy, so simple. So I've never been fearful about making this sauce. After the roux comes together, I'll start adding the milk, but just a little bit at a time. And I'm using whole milk, not 2%, not low fat, not fat free, but whole milk. When the sauce begins to thicken, I'm going to add an egg, but first I need to temper the egg by adding some of the hot liquid to the egg before introducing the egg back to the sauce. When adding the egg back to the hot liquid, I'm stirring constantly so that again the sauce doesn't curdle. I'm also adding the egg very slowly and a little bit at a time. Next, I'm adding the Gruyere cheese to the sauce mixture. I'm seasoning the bechamel sauce with salt, pepper, and a little bit of grated nutmeg. Now that everything is ready, the meat sauce, the potatoes, the eggplant, and the bechamel, I'm going to start layering everything in my casserole dish. After putting all the layers together, I'm going to bake the moussaka in the oven on 375 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit until the top is nice and golden brown. The moussaka should rest at least 30 to 45 minutes before cutting. If not, it's just going to run all over the place. I was a little premature when I first started cutting into the moussaka, so I had to let it cool down a lot longer. This is really, really good. I like the cinnamon in here. It separates this casserole from a regular meat and potato casserole. I like it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time, bye-bye.